Alright, let's be real for a second. There's just something about indoor plants that instantly makes a space feel more alive. I mean, even if you don't have a green thumb, there's a plant out there that won't judge you for forgetting to water it once in a while. Trust me, this guy right here, basically unkillable. And that's just one of 24 indoor plants I'm going to show you today that are super easy to care for, look awesome, and can totally change the vibe of your place. So whether you're looking to freshen up your apartment, bring a little calm to your home office, or just want to impress guests who think you're way more put together than you actually are, stick around. Here are 24 of the best indoor plants that everyone should own. Let's get into it. Alright, first up, bird's nest fern. This one's kind of a sleeper hit, honestly. You don't hear people talking about it as much as your monsteras or fiddle leaf figs, but man, it deserves a spot in your home. The leaves have this cool, ruffled vibe that looks like they belong in a jungle butt, in a chill, low-maintenance kind of way. It loves bathrooms, by the way, because of the humidity, so if you've got a window in there, that's the sweet spot. I've got mine on a shelf above the toilet, and it thrives with pretty much zero effort. Just keep the soil a little moist and don't blast it with direct sunlight. It kind of does its own thing, and I respect that energy. If you want something that feels tropical but doesn't need a ton of babysitting, this one's a no-brainer. Next on the list, Boston fern. This one's got that old-school charm, like the kind of plant you'd see in your grandma's sunroom, but it totally holds up today. It's got these long, feathery fronds that just spill over the edges of a hanging basket or a shelf, and it gives off serious, cozy, lived-in vibes. Now, fair warning, it does like a bit of attention. Keep the soil damp and give it some humidity, especially in the winter when things get dry. I keep mine near a humidifier and it's loving life. And don't let it dry out completely, or it gets kinda crunchy, and no one wants that. But if you give it a little care, it'll reward you with crazy, lush growth. It's like the friendly overachiever of houseplants. You give it what it wants, and it goes above and beyond. English ivy is one of those plants that just makes everything look cooler without trying too hard. It's got that classic trailing vine look, and you can hang it, let it climb, or just let it sprawl across a shelf. It's super versatile. I've even seen people train it around windows, and it looks like something out of a cozy European cottage. It does like bright, indirect light, so give it a good spot near a window, and keep the soil lightly moist, not soggy, just not bone dry either. Oh, and it's also one of those air-purifying plants, which is a nice bonus if you're into that kind of thing. I will say, don't let it get too leggy-give. It a little trim now and then to keep it looking full and happy. If you want that effortless green aesthetic, English ivy's got your back. Calendula might not be the first plant that comes to mind for indoors, but hear me out, it's totally underrated. These bright yellow-orange flowers add such a warm, happy pop of color to any room, and they're super easy to grow from seed if you've got a sunny window. They do need a good amount of light, so don't stick them in a dark corner and expect miracles. I've got a little pot of them in my kitchen window, and it's like instant cheer every morning. Plus, they're not just pretty. People use the petals in teas and salves and all that herbal stuff, if you're into that. Just don't overwater them. They like things on the drier side once they're established. Calendula is one of those plants that kind of makes you feel like you've got your life together, even if you're still figuring it out. Umbrella plant, or Schefflera if you want to get fancy, is one of those plants that just looks like it belongs in a cool office or a chill living room. It's got this laid-back, structured vibe that makes any corner feel put together. The leaves kind of fan out like, well, an umbrella, and it grows in a really nice upright way so it doesn't take over your whole space. It's not fussy either, which I appreciate. Give it some bright, indirect light, and let the top inch of soil dry out between waterings, and it's good to go. Mine sits near my desk and honestly just kind of minds its business and looks great doing it. It can grow pretty tall too if you let it, so if you're looking for something with some presence that doesn't demand a ton of attention, this one's a solid choice. Also, it just gives off peaceful energy, like the plant version of a calm, collected friend. African violets are like those quiet little overachievers you don't notice at first, and then suddenly they're blooming like crazy and stealing the show. They've got these soft, fuzzy leaves and super vibrant flowers that come in purples, pinks, even white sand. They bloom year-round if you treat them right. They're perfect for smaller spaces too, like a kitchen windowsill or a side table. Just give them bright, indirect light and water from the bottomia. Weird, I know, but they don't like water on their leaves. I use one of those little trays and let them soak it up, and they're happy as can be. They're kind of addictive too. Once you have one, you'll want like 3 more. Moth Orchid, or Phalaenopsis, if you want to sound like you know what you're talking about, is honestly one of the easiest ways to make your space look fancy with almost no effort. The flowers are insane-like. They look fake in the best way and they can last for months, which is wild. I know orchids have this reputation for being high maintenance, but this one's surprisingly chill. Just give it bright, indirect light and water it once a week. But make sure the pot drains well because they hate sitting in water. Mine's in a clear pot inside a decorative one, so I can see when the roots dry out it's a game changer. And even when it's not blooming, the leaves are glossy and cool looking, so it never really looks bad. If you want a plant that makes guests say, "Whoa, nice orchid," this is the one. Ponytail Palm is one of those plants that just looks like it has personality, like it's living its best life no matter what. It's not actually a palm, but honestly, who cares? That big bulbous base and the crazy ponytail of leaves shooting out the top, it's just fun to have around. Super low maintenance too, which I love. It stores water in that base, so you can totally forget about it for a bit and it'll still be fine. I water mine maybe every couple weeks and it just keeps doing its thing. It likes bright light, but it's not too picky, and it doesn't take up a ton of space. It kind of gives off desert island vibes, like a mini tree in the corner of your living room. If you want a plant that looks cool, barely needs anything from you, and always gets compliments, Ponytail Palm's it. Cast iron plant totally lives up to its name. This thing is tough as nails. If you've got a low light spot that most plants hate, this one will be just fine. I've had mine in a shady hallway for years, and it's still going strong, barely asks for anything. The leaves are dark green and leathery, and they give off this no-nonsense, clean look that works in just about any space. It doesn't need a ton of water either, like I forget sometimes for weeks and it's still kicking. It's not flashy, no flowers or wild colors, but that's kind of the charm. It's the reliable plant friend that doesn't complain, ever. If you're someone who kills plants by just looking at them, the cast iron plant might finally break your losing streak. Asparagus fern might surprise you because it's way softer and fluffier than you'd expect from the name. It's got these delicate, feathery fronds that kind of make your space feel light and airy without being over the top. It's pretty easy to care for. Just keep it in bright, indirect light and water it regularly so the soil stays slightly moist but not soggy. I like how it fills up empty corners or shelves with a little texture and movement, almost like a little green cloud. Plus, it grows pretty fast if you give it what it wants, so you get that instant plant gratification. If you want something that looks a little different but isn't high maintenance, asparagus fern's a solid pick. Homalomena Selby is one of those plants that looks way fancier than it actually is, which I love. The leaves are this deep green with a glossy finish, and they have this cool heart shape that just feels really modern without trying too hard. It's pretty low-key when it comes to light does fine in medium to low indirect light, which makes it perfect for spots where other plants might struggle. Water-wise, just keep the soil lightly moist, but don't go overboard. It's pretty forgiving if you miss a watering or two. I like having mine on my desk because it adds a little pop of life without taking up too much space or needing constant attention. If you want a plant that's classy but chill, Homalomena Selby fits the bill. Peace lily is one of those classic houseplants that just works no matter what. It's got these big, glossy leaves and those elegant white flowers that pop up every now and then, making it look way more high-end than it really is. It's super forgiving too, does well in low to medium light and lets you know when it's thirsty by drooping a little, so it's hard to mess up. Just keep the soil moist but don't drown it. Flamingo Lily is one of those plants that really catches your eye with its bright, shiny pink flowers that almost look fake but aren't. It's kind of a showstopper, but it's not as high maintenance as you might think. It likes bright, indirect light and a bit of humidity, so it's perfect for a bathroom or kitchen with a window. Water it when the top inch of soil feels dry, but don't overdo it. These guys don't like to sit in soggy soil. I've got mine on a shelf near a north-facing window, and it's been blooming on and off for months, which is pretty sweet for an indoor plant. If you want something with a little pop of color that still feels chill to care for, Flamingo Lily is a solid pick. Living stones are one of those plants that totally mess with your brain because they look like little rocks, but they're actually living, growing plants. They're perfect if you want something super low-key and quirky-like. No one expects a plant that looks like a pebble. They don't need much water at all, just a quick soak every now and then. And they love bright light, so put them by a sunny window. I keep mine on my desk because it's like having a little piece of desert vibes indoors without the fuss. If you want a conversation starter that's easy to care for and kinda weird in a cool way, living stones are where it's at. Ficus is one of those classic indoor plants that instantly gives your space a bit of sophistication without much effort. It's got these big, shiny leaves that just make any room feel fresher and more alive. I like that it's pretty adaptable, can handle bright, indirect light, but also does okay in a bit of shade, which is nice if you don't have perfect sunlight. Just keep the soil moderately moist and avoid moving it around too much, because they can be a little sensitive to change. Mine's been a steady companion for a while now, and honestly, it's the kind of plant that quietly grows and fills out your space without stealing the spotlight. Pothos is like the ultimate beginner plant, super forgiving and crazy easy to grow. It's got these heart-shaped leaves that come in all kinds of variegated patterns, so it never gets boring. I usually just let mine trail down from a shelf or hang out in a hanging basket because it adds a nice, relaxed vibe to the room. It does well in low to bright, indirect light, and I honestly forget to water mine half the time, but it bounces back every time. If you want a plant that looks cool but doesn't stress you out with fancy care, Pothos is the way to go. Rubber plant is one of those bold, statement-making houseplants that instantly add some serious style to any room. The leaves are thick, glossy, and dark green, and they just have this cool vibe like they mean business, but in a chill way. It's pretty easy to take care of, too. Just give it bright, indirect light and water it when the top inch of soil feels dry. But don't overdo it, because it hates sitting in wet soil. I like how mine has grown over time, filling out a corner and giving that cozy, lived-in feel. If you want a plant that looks impressive but won't stress you out with complicated care, the rubber plant's a solid pick. ZZ Plant is like the superhero of low-maintenance plants. You can pretty much forget about it and it'll keep looking good. The leaves are thick, waxy, and shiny, which gives it this almost futuristic look. It's great for spots with low light because it doesn't need much to thrive. And watering? Honestly, once every couple weeks is plenty. I've had mine on a shelf that doesn't get much sun, and it just keeps growing, slowly but surely. If you want a tough, reliable plant that adds a sleek, modern vibe without any drama, the ZZ Plant's your go-to. Black velvet Alocasia is one of those plants that looks like it's from another planet, with those deep, dark green leaves and velvet-like texture that just feels super luxe. It's a bit more of a diva compared to some other plants likes, bright, indirect light, and a bit of humidity to keep those leaves happy. You've got to be careful not to overwater it though, because it's not a fan of soggy roots. I keep mine in my living room where it gets some filtered light, and honestly, it's like a living piece of art that sparks a ton of compliments. If you want something unique that stands out but doesn't need constant babysitting, Black Velvet Alocasia is a cool pick. Norfolk Island pine is like having a little mini Christmas tree vibe all year round, without the hassle of needles everywhere. It's got these soft, feathery branches that give it a really chill, natural look that fits in just about anywhere. It prefers bright, indirect light, and likes the occasional misting to keep those branches happy, especially if your place is dry. I usually water mine when the top inch of soil feels dry, making sure it doesn't sit in water because that's a no-go. If you want a plant that's a bit different from the usual green leafy ones and adds a bit of calm, tree-like energy to your space, the Norfolk Island pine is a great choice. Thanksgiving cactus is one of those plants that's perfect if you want a splash of color during the holidays, but can enjoy it year-round too. It's got these cool segmented leaves that look a little like a cactus, but it actually flowers with these bright tubular blooms that come in reds, pinks, or white super cheerful. It's pretty easygoing likes, bright, indirect light, and a good soak when the soil dries out. But don't overdo it because it doesn't like soggy roots. I keep mine near a window where it gets filtered sunlight, and it's been blooming reliably every year. If you want something a little different that adds personality and seasonal charm, the Thanksgiving cactus is a solid pick. Jasmine Plant is one of those indoor plants that not only looks great but also fills your space with this amazing sweet fragrance that just lifts your mood. It's got these delicate white or yellow flowers that bloom mostly in spring and summer, and it loves bright, indirect light to keep those blooms coming. I usually water mine when the top feels dry and try to keep the humidity up a bit because it really appreciates that. Plus, it's pretty easy to care for if you give it a little attention, and having that natural scent in the house beats any air freshener hands down. If you want a plant that's both beautiful and smells awesome, jasmine is definitely worth adding to your collection. Chinese evergreen is a total go-to if you want a plant that's nearly impossible to kill but still looks stylish. Its leaves come in all kinds of cool patterns and colors, so it's never boring, and it handles low light like a champ, making it perfect for spots that don't get a ton of sun. I usually water mine when the soil feels dry to the touch. No need to go overboard because it prefers to dry out a bit between drinks. It's also great for cleaning the air, which is a nice bonus. If you want something that adds a little pop of green without needing a green thumb, Chinese evergreen is a solid choice. Croton is like the showstopper of indoor plants with its bold, colorful leaves that come in all sorts of reds, yellows, and greensits, basically a natural piece of artwork. It loves bright light, so I keep mine near a sunny window to really make those colors pop, but it doesn't do great in low light at all. Watering's pretty straightforward. I just keep the soil evenly moist but not soaked, and it appreciates a little humidity now and then. It's a bit picky compared to some other plants, but the payoff is totally worth it because it instantly livens up any room. If you want something that adds serious personality and color, the Croton's the way to go. All right, that wraps up our list of the 24 best indoor plants everyone should own. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned plant parent, there's something here for every space and style. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a green tip. Catch you next time.